Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Josepher and welcome to another Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Now in today's video, I've just come back from a week-long trip, so I hope people haven't missed me too much. Today we're going to be talking about Queen, who is a support-based character with some very interesting nuance to her that makes her a little less simple than she first appears, and she's going to be coming up to Dissidia next week with a brand new event and obviously a Lufenia mission that goes along with her. So if you'd like to know more about Queen and her event, then of course as always stay tuned and keep on watching. Now before we get started, of course, don't forget to check out all of my social media in the description box below, including Twitter, Twitch, Discord and Patreon. Over on Twitch, I am back to streaming 5 days a week after taking a week off. As I said, I was on a boat trip for the last week on a very socially distant little holiday, which was very, very safe, very fun, and it was really relaxing, and it gave me a bit of time to kind of think about where I want to go with the channel, what kinds of things I'm wanting to do in the future, and it was genuinely very, very pleasant. And then obviously I'll be streaming more FF14. On Count Up, I'm actually going back to Final Fantasy V because I haven't uploaded any to YouTube yet because I'm going to be doing 4 Job Fiesta. And honestly, with FF6's Pixel Remaster coming up within the next month or so, I may hold off on starting FF6 until that game is released. Over on Patreon, I do always shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video, and today that person is going to be Dazoren, who is somebody who frequents my streams an awful lot and has been very, very supportive, so a massive thank you goes out to you. And as you can see through their title card, they're a big fan of Penelo. So if you'd like a title card just like Dazoren has, as lots of plenty of other benefits, then perhaps you'd like to consider becoming a patron yourself by clicking on the link in the description box below. And lastly, of course, don't forget to check out all of the other content creators there are out there for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and of course all the links down below for resources pertaining to the game too. So let's go straight into it and let's take a look at the banner as well as obviously Queen. Now the banner itself is going to contain Cloud of Darkness's BT for the last time up until we start seeing Tidus's BT. It's obviously going to contain all of Queen's kit, so LDEX 1535, and then also going to have Fran and Keita EX along for the ride. So it's a single LD banner this time around. Now Queen is an aura bot, first and foremost. She provides lots of buffs for the party, while also having a bit of a twist and an edge to herself that increases her damage output in a very fun and interesting way. Now, her basic skills are actually very, very simple and very basic. However, it's important to take note of which of her skills extend the duration of her buffs because it becomes relevant when it comes to her LD. Now, Speed Rush Thrust is literally just a 6-hit Brave HP attack that party batteries to a single target, and extends her buff durations by 1 turn, which is useful. It's nice. And you get a lot of uses of it as well. You get 10 uses out of it, so that's really nice. And then Mana Sphere is again, a party Brave battery that is a group AoE Brave HP attack that gives her basic offensive buffs, one of which is her basic buff that increases her offensive stats and gives her access to her Brave and HP pluses. And then Class 0 Tactics is 1/2 of her offensive buff suite when it comes to the party aura. So this one will increase max bravery, attack, it will give brave regen, increase bravery damage for the party by 20%, as well as max brave overflow, which is all good stuff. The rest of the buffs will come from her LD, so it's definitely, as we know with any character now, the entire kit is very much required. So this is 1/2 of the buff suite that she gets, but other than that, it is literally just an AoE Brave HP attack. Her C65 is a party heal with a little bit of max brave buff that comes off of it, so it's nice that she has a burst heal capability, so she gets extra use. She gets 2 uses of this, so it's nice in a pinch. Her EX, I'm actually going to come to last because her EX is actually the most interesting part of her kit. So we're actually going to start by looking at her LD. Now her LD is an instant heal to the party, so burst heal, and it is also a 10-hit Brave HP attack with full AoE Brave HP damage to the party. Sadly, it's only a single HP dump, which is something you'll see with a lot of Queen's kit, which is sad. Like, she does have some additional HP dumps, but the majority of her kit is single HP dumps. But it's going to give her the Wave of Judgment buff for 6 turns. So 6 turns here of getting Wave of Judgment, and this is why it's important to take note of the abilities of hers that extend the duration of her buffs, such as the ability she gets from her EX and her skill 1, gives you party attack up by 40%, more stolen Brave overflow, HP damage up by 20% for the party, which we all know is very, very handy, party HP regen, Party Last Stand, which is a fantastic thing to have access to at any given time, and Party HP Damage Resist up by 30%. So this is all very nice stuff. It rounds out the Class 0 Tactics buff she got from her skill 2, and makes for a very large array of buffs that she provides the party just by being there. And like I said, yes, the buff only lasts for 6 turns, but it can be extended by a lot of her other skills, so it's not nearly as bad as it sounds. Now, her EX is very, very odd, for want of a better term. And like I said, people who appreciate kind of the yandere trope of character will really appreciate Queen for this, because what she does is she reduces her own HP to 1, gains bravery equal to twice the amount of HP that she lost, will then do a double HP dumping attack, where she'll do an HP attack followed by a double group brave HP attack, and then she's going to give herself a new special effect where she will give herself the Resetsu Arousal. So what this ends up being called in the global version, I'm not quite sure, but what it makes it is, so her attack, her brave damage, she gets Last Stand, and she recovers her HP when she gets this removed, so this will last for 2 turns, and then she changes her bravery and HP attack to Balestra Lunge and Devastate, and you can't use any other moves while this ability is active. So it's 3 turns, sorry, not 2. So what these attacks are, having a quick look at those, Balestra Lunge is a brave HP attack, so 6-hit brave HP attack, that is instant turn and doesn't add to turn count, and again extends the duration of her buffs by a turn. And she gets, it's literally just a free attack, so 6-hit brave HP attack, and then she gets to go again while she still has the Resetsu available. Devastate is a high turn rate, not an instant turn rate, but still extends her buff duration by 1 turn, and she does a 3-hit brave HP attack, hits 3 times, and then she does splash damage afterwards. Later down the line, when she gets her C85 and 90 abilities, this will actually get stronger, as well as the other abilities from her kit, but right now it's 3 lots of attacks. And basically you are only allowed to use those 2 attacks while she has the Resetsu active. So typically, you wouldn't want to stick around with this ability for too long. Her HP is at 1. Yes, she has HP regen, which is very nice. But obviously, you want to have access to her support kit. So you can use Devastate early if you want to, if you're happy for her to be in the Resetsu state. Or you could just go double Balestra Lunge, then Devastate, and then her turn will come back around again and you can start using her support suite again. But the damage that she can churn out by having 3 free turns every time she uses her EX is actually pretty high. But the thing with Queen is that Queen is kind of plopped in the wrong time and the wrong place. Like, she's really good. She has a lot going for her. Any character that can increase bravery, party bravery and HP damage, that party-wide Last Stand is really good. But outside of her EX stance, the Resetsu stance, she doesn't do an awful lot of damage, but she can burst damage, and if you pair her up with the right characters, then she can churn out a lot. I was actually a lot less interested in Queen than I am now on the back of Core. Now, Core will exponentially increase a lot of what Queen has available to her. So Core doesn't have a lot of the healing capabilities that Queen has, but he does still reduce HP and bravery damage. And because Queen is a character that has a lot of strong party auras, has the ability to take multiple turns in a row, like through her EX and the stance that comes out of it, she's going to be able to take advantage of Core really well. And because she makes up the bits that he's missing when it comes to the party-wide auras and things like that, as well as compounding them by having the HP damage reduction, party-wide Last Stand, things like that. She also pairs up very well with Ashe for a similar reason. Like, she doesn't have Enchant and Imperil like Ashe does, but she does have access to the to burst damage where Ashe doesn't. So they can actually pair up very well together on the back of the fact that you can use Queen's EX, use all of the stuff that comes off of it, and then Ashe use Queen's Order on, and then Queen gets her EX back and then can do it again but with harder damage. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do with Queen, and she's a very intriguing character because of her EX and the party auras, but she's a lot less complicated than she looks. Like, her basic skill 1 and 2 don't really do a lot, if I'm perfectly honest. They set her up, but that's pretty much it. So if you like the sound of her EX, the things that it grants, if you like the party-wide last stand, then Queen is a really cool character to have. Whether she's needed or not realistically going forward, probably not, if I'm honest. And being sandwiched in between your Cloud of Darkness, Core, Tidus is coming next week, Setsa's going to be the week after, Yuna's going to be the week after that. I think in a sea of really powerful characters, much like Sabin before her, I just feel that she's in the wrong place at the wrong time. But she is really cool, and she is actually very good. To round it off, Queen's cool abilities are quite good. They're not amazing. Like, if you have certain other cool abilities, you'll probably take them over her. But she has some aspects to her that do make her quite appealing in terms of cool characters. Manosphere is very average, unfortunately. It gives you Brave Regen and a bit of Brave Overflow. That's kind of it. It's not really anything particularly crazy. Divine Judgment, though, gives you a healing, like burst heal off the bat, and also gives you access to Divine Judgment as a cool effect, which gives you HP regen, gives you HP damage up for the party, and attack up as well. So it's a nice round package. That being said, though, if you've got characters like Ignis, who do very similar things, as well as the Enchant Imperil, and obviously his regroup kind of covers the healing aspect, then you're probably not going to need to use Queen as a cool character very often, but it's nice to have. And then in terms of armor, she has a support keystone, so raises party attack, and then with blue armor, with her HA plus, it increases party-wide bravery and HP limits by 10% each. It's nice. I don't think you're going to use Queen enough realistically to justify using all of your ingots on her armor when you've got other characters that probably want it more. But if you think you're going to use Queen a lot, then it's not something that would be held against you. Realistically, with any kind of high armor, whether you use the blue armor or anything is just going to come down to whether you think you're going to use this character a lot. If you think you're going to use Queen a lot, then sure, why not? But realistically, there are a lot of characters going forward that you will probably use over her. So now let's take a quick look at the event that comes along with Queen and what you want to be taking for the Lufenia mission. So the Lufenia mission this time around is against 3 strong beasts, which is a really original name for an enemy, but they are, obviously there being 3 of them, it's an event that's going to want a lot of AoE damage if you have access to it. But first things first, let's talk about the Lufenia Orb. So they appear at 80% HP, and then there's 2 ways of getting around it. One of which is basically saying if you have Cloud of Darkness, you'll have an easier time, because if you delay an enemy by 3 turns, you get plus 15 added onto the turn count, and recovering HP via HP regen will add plus 1 to the counter. Now, if you're not bringing, say, Cloud of Darkness as a friend unit or a Cloud of Darkness of your own, what this basically means is that, obviously, with it only going up by 1 with HP regen, the orbs are going to stay the same from 80% all the way to 0, unless they're taking turns, at which point it's only ever going to tick down. So you can counteract this by using summons, bursts, etc. to add that HP regen back up so that you're able to get more turns. Otherwise, it's just a race to the finish. Now, the main thing when it comes to this fight is honestly the first couple of turns, because these guys will start with their recast bar active, and when their recast attack goes off, they will cleanse all of their debuffs, including framed, so that like characters like Setsa or Cypher, etc., not going to work very well for this particular part of the fight, but they'll unbreak themselves and then do a Brave Gain and then 8-hit Brave HP AoE attack that ignores HP damage reduction. This thing hurts, especially when you're going to be dealing with 3 of them in a row. Now, there's multiple ways that you can deal with this. The idea with this is that you're supposed to use a character like Queen, who has HP, or who has last stand for the party, so that you're able to withstand this onslaught of attacks. Or you could use Porum to do it, who's obviously very strong with overheals and HP damage reduction, and then the party last stand. That's all very, very good. You can use Barsh as well. Barsh is a very popular pick for this fight because you're able to, like, he'll just take all of the AoE damage onto himself as long as his LD buff is active, and then he'll just heal straight back up to half HP. But it's important to remember with Barsh that he doesn't have HP regen for the party, so you're going to want to make sure you've got another outlet for that, so that you're keeping the orb in mind as well. And then another very popular way of dealing with this particular part of the fight is actually using a Golbez BT friend unit, because Golbez's BT effect is stopping the enemy from gaining bravery in any way. So it's going to make it so that their HP attacks just don't do anything, and then once their recast attack has gone off, you can kind of continue with the rest of the fight. But basically, you need to be able to survive an onslaught of attacks without relying on HP damage reduction from, say, Porom or Warrior of Light, etc., but instead relying on Last Stand, which is the thing that Porom would have given you. Now, the other thing that they will do is they will continually do AoE Brave HP attacks, so you really do want to have healing, strong defenses against these guys, but because delay is a part of the mission, you can kind of get around it by just spamming attacks at them. However, if they haven't had a turn by the time they reach 80% HP, and then again by the time they reach 50% HP, they'll then become completely immune to turn delay and delete. So it means that you're not able to spam it completely. So you need to let the enemies get turns, so at least be able to do at least some of these attacks. So again, you need to be relying on your defenses so that you can punch through it and then start giving them the onslaught. They only do this twice. They do it like at 80% and 50% HP, and they reduce any HP damage they take up to having a shield that needs to be broken so that they can then take HP damage again. Past that, it's just a case of hitting them with, you know, your Cloud of Darkness BT or Garland, or just making sure that they don't ever realistically get a turn again, so that that orb doesn't go down any further because you're relying on HP regen to keep it going, and obviously hitting them. And any kind of AoE damage is going to do very well here, so if you've got access to somebody like Strago or Garland, Cloud of Darkness, etc., they're going to work really well. You can actually, as long as you've let them get a turn so that they're not reliant on, so that those yellow auras don't go up at those HP thresholds, you can actually use Terra to just spam the whole thing and win, realistically, as long as you've got somebody to be able to protect you. So you could take Core and then Terra and then maybe Ash for the HP regen, something like that. Call in a Golbez friend unit to make sure that they're allowed to have their turns, and then as soon as you've gotten them beyond the 50% HP point, you can then just go off, and then that should fix it for you pretty damn quickly. So now we come to the big question of the video: should you be pulling for Queen? I actually think Queen is really cool. She has a lot of very interesting qualities about her. Like, she has a very wide array of things that she provides in terms of the buffs she provides the party. She's got a very cover-all like suite, which she has the HP regen, she has the party-wide Last Stand, which is a very, very rare commodity. She has party-wide Brave and HP damage up, which is which opens up a lot of different party compositions that are very interesting. The only the problem with the HP or the party-wide Last Stand is that Porom has it, and a lot of people pulled for Porom. But Queen is a more offensively inclined support character. Like, with her EX Resetsu buff, she does kind of go off, and she has multiple turns, multiple HP dumps on Devastate. She does do a lot of damage within a short space of time, and as I said earlier, I was made a lot more interested in Queen on the back of Core, because I think the pair of them actually work really well together. And I also mentioned earlier, I think Ash is a really good partner for Queen, because they kind of support each other in various different ways. Then your third character can be a heavy damage dealer, and then you've got access to that. I think that Queen's a really fun and cool character to pick up, and anyone who wants her will enjoy her. Like, she has her C90 now and her EX buffs, which are nice, but again, they're not game breaking, they're just really good. But realistically, if I was being honest, I think Queen is one of the more skippable new characters that we've had, because despite her EX giving her like a sudden amount of damage increase, she's actually very basic. She doesn't actually do an awful lot. Her skill 1 and 2 they don't really do anything. They are like literally just single HP dump attacks. One of them is a single target, one of them is an AoE, one of them's extending her buffs, the other one's applying them. That's pretty much it, and she doesn't have multiple HP dumps in most of her kit. It's only her EX and Devastate that really do it, so her damage is gonna be a little bit lackluster unless you pair her up with the correct character. She's not the kind of character you could just throw into anything. And her timing, like Sabin before her, is really unfortunate. Lots of people pulled on Porom, Core, Cloud of Darkness. A lot more people are going to be pulling for Tidus, Setzer, Yuna, Agrius. There's a lot there that people really want, and they're all going to be way more demanding on your resources than Queen is going to be. And now lastly, it's time for Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to let your voice be heard and tell everybody whether you would or wouldn't pull on a given banner and why. Now first things first, a massive thank you goes out to all of my patrons for casting their votes and their comments. I didn't give an awful lot of time with this particular poll, but everyone came together and got their comments together really quickly, so a massive thank you goes to all of you for that, thanks to me coming back from my holiday a little bit later than I thought I was going to. But let's go into the numbers here. So 11% of people have said that they would use gems on this banner. 36% of people said they would use 100 or more tickets. 31% of people said they would use less than 100 tickets. And 22% of people said that they wouldn't pull on this banner at all. Now, I think that with Queen, I think she's a really cool character and she's really interesting. She very much gives me Theodore type vibes, where people want her, but I don't think anyone really needs her. So, unless, of course, you're really after that party-wide last stand and you weren't able to get Porom, for example, I do think that she is more of a luxury unit, but she is very good at being that luxury unit. Anyways, going into some of the comments, Light Husky says probably going to chuck around 100 tickets at her, hopefully get the LD, and then token the rest of her kit. This is probably what I'm going to be doing. Her kit looks fun. Decent auras on her will make her fun with various characters. Core will make a great partner with her due to her getting instant turn rate. There are way too many good banners coming out soon, Tidus, Rosa, Setzer example, that it has to only be tickets for her. I actually agree with this wholeheartedly. I think that, like I said, Core makes Queen look a lot more appealing than she would have done without him. I don't think that she's bad without him, but I definitely think that Core adds a lot to her by rounding out everything that she does and also pretty much doubling her damage during her Resetsu phase. I think that there'd be a really cool pairing, and I'm probably going to throw some tickets at Queen because I've managed to get a decent amount of tickets. For those of you who are interested, I pitied again on Cloud of Darkness because I was on my trip and apparently that did not bring me luck. But never mind, with Queen, I thought it would be quite cool to perhaps throw a few tickets at her and see where we go. Sad Panda says, I definitely don't need her, but she does sound appealing. Normally I would probably throw up to 100 tickets out, but I have tickets to burn from Divine Brothers and I need another chance to pull Cloud of Darkness BT. Planning on 300 tickets here. I do think that if you still want Cloud of Darkness BT, this is a good place. I'd say this was a better place to get it than Sabin was. Purely because Queen has a nice future ahead of her. She has a C8, a C90, and her EX++ and stuff like that. And I think that it works well, and she's got really interesting pairings that she has now, as opposed to Sabin, who is more sort of on his own, and he kind of does his own thing, but he's easily superseded by other characters. But I definitely think the same as Sad Panda does here. Don't need her, but she's definitely appealing. Gino Jiraiya says, oh yes, I'm definitely pulling on this banner. As someone who really enjoyed Type 0 series, I feel obligated to pull every unit that comes out from it. All in with tickets since I have 800 plus waiting to be used. I think that the large portion, going through all of the comments, and as I've said before, if you want access to the full database of all of the comments that I get over on Discord and Patreon itself, then consider becoming a patron yourself because I can only put so many comments. But that, like I said, I think the large majority of people who are using a lot of tickets, or gems even, are big fans of Type 0 and Queen as a type of character. Like, I really enjoy the Yandere trope of character where she's a bit crazy and she's got the maniacal laugh and stuff like that, and I really enjoy that kind of character, so I can see why people really want Queen. But I think that those are the majority of players who are going in heavily on their resources. Finally, Ken Kenzie says, I think the Queen's going to be a skip for me. Her kit's pretty nice, and I do like her Berserker mechanic, but I don't really see much use for her in the coming future that I'd want to use her for. She isn't a bad unit, but when you look at what's coming in the next couple of months, events and units, banners like Queen are nice to use to save up resources and have breathing room. Maybe when she gets rerun with her level 90, I'll pick her up then. That's also a fair point. If you don't want her now, if you want to save up for Tidus, Yuna, Setzer, Agrias, etc., then, you know, she does come back. So you don't have to have her now, and you might want to pick her up later on. But I tend to find that if I can... Like, these are the kinds of banners that I like to throw a bit of resources out and then maybe get lucky, because then when they do come back, then I already have a character that I know I want to use for that particular event. I always like that safety. But basically what it comes down to with this is I think that if you have a large number of resources, then sure, throw some tickets at Queen. She is really cool and she is pretty strong. But if you're gonna, like, jeopardize your pulls for Tidus, Yuna, Setzer, or Agrias, I would probably leave it alone. So that's going to be all for today's video. A massive thank you to all of you for watching, and again to my patrons for casting their votes and their comments on Queen. Let me know in the comments below whether you plan to pull for her, and who you think would be a really good pairing with her outside of the characters we've mentioned here today. Of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that button for notification of the future videos I might be making. And that's going to be it from me today, so thank you all very much, and good luck on your pulls, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye now.